From lawsuits and failed reunions to airing out their squabbles in the press, the feud between Glenn Danzig and Jerry Only of the Misfits has been raging on and off for over 3 decades. So, will a full reconciliation ever be possible? While the Misfits are considered a seminal punk band and the originators of the horror punk subgenre, the group's initial run wasn't all glitz and glamour, culminating with an unceremonious breakup on October 29, 1983. The Misfits had experienced their woes with a revolving door of drummers, and even before their final performance, there had been a disagreement over who should be behind the kit for the infamous Halloween gig at the Greystone Hall in Detroit. According to James Green Jr.'s The Music Leaves Stains, the complete story of the Misfits, Jerry Only wanted their former drummer Arthur Googie to play the gig, but Glenn Danzig wasn't a fan of the idea and wanted Brian Damage Keats instead. Danzig got his wish in the end, but the performance turned into a disaster after Keats became intoxicated and botched the songs. Misfits guitarist Doyle Wolfgang von Frankenstein became annoyed and forcefully ejected Keats from the stage, while the Necros drummer Todd Swalla filled in for the rest of the show. After all that had happened that evening, plus other boiling frustrations over the band, Danzig announced on stage that it would be his final show with the Misfits. The group decided to split as a result of Danzig's decision. Despite the Misfits disbanding, there was still a wealth of previous material that had gone unreleased. In the band's early days, they had received 20 hours of studio time, so they went in and recorded the entirety of Static Age, which was set to be their debut album. Unfortunately, the Misfits couldn't find a label that was willing to release the punk rock Pulverizer, so the record was put on an indefinite back burner. In 1985, 2 years after the group split, Glenn Danzig decided to release a Misfits compilation record titled Legacy of Brutality. The album featured previously unreleased songs that had been recorded for Static Age. However, Danzig decided to re-record the instrumental tracks that had been laid down by his previous bandmates. Speaking to the now-defunct Black Market magazine, he claimed he did this because it sounded a lot better. Danzig's power play didn't go down well with Only, who told J. Eric Smith in 1997, "Glenn re-recorded all of my bass tracks for Legacy of Brutality. I was really aggravated by that move because Legacy was probably the biggest selling Misfits item at the time, and it wasn't even me on there." Danzig went on to release several items related to the Misfits after this compilation, which resulted in tension between him and Only, as well as a legal dispute. After Glenn Danzig made the decision to release Misfits music without the involvement of Jerry Only, a long-running feud began. According to Only's interview with No Cover TV, the two of them didn't speak to each other from the time the Misfits broke up until the day they met in court. Summing up what the main issue was, Only said, "I wanted the band, he wanted the publishing. I didn't care about the publishing. I wanted to make new music. I didn't want to get a check in the mailbox from Metallica. I didn't care about that."
I wanted to write stuff that people would be coming back to 20, 30 years later.
In a statement published by Alternative Press in 2014, Only and the Misfits said Only attained the exclusive legal right to tour and record as the Misfits in a 1995 settlement. He then proceeded to utilize a licensing program through Cyclopean Music. Reportedly, Danzig didn't want any attachment to the band or what Cyclopean Music was doing. In another interview with Citizen, Only revealed that he had ceded songwriting credits to Danzig as part of their agreement, even though he claimed he and Wolfgang von Frankenstein wrote 25% or maybe 30% of the music. By 2004, fans had already seen some semblance of a Misfits reunion, albeit not the one they may have imagined initially. Doyle Wolfgang von Frankenstein left the Misfits in 2001 and joined Glenn Danzig for the Blackest of the Black tour, where the two performed special Misfits sets for the crowds in attendance. All the while, the Misfits continued as Jerry Only set up another version of the band without Danzig or Doyle's involvement. In a 2007 interview with Spin, Danzig said that he and Only didn't get along, but he had a good relationship with Only's brother Doyle. Additionally, he explained how he was set to produce the debut album for Doyle's solo band Gorgeous Frankenstein. When Only was asked his thoughts about Danzig and Doyle's reunion by Rolling Stone in 2011, he said he harbored no resentment toward it. Only told the outlet, "Glenn had some problems for a while. There was some crazy stuff that went down and he really needed to save face. My brother stepped in for Glenn right at the right time, and I think it really kept him from floundering. So I'm happy my brother was there for him." There are two certainties in the music industry. Bands will fight, and they will make up again. while Glenn Danzig and Jerry Only's falling out raged on for 3 decades, there was always the belief among fans that they would move past their various spats and reunite to reclaim their crowns as kings of horror punk. It also didn't help that there were constant whispers about it happening every time someone opened a music mag. In fact, Only himself hinted at the possibility of it happening in 2003 when he spoke to Citizens saying, "We're talking with Glenn Danzig. Hopefully, we can get things back together and do a little work with him." In 2008, while speaking to the Cleveland scene, Only's brother and Misfits guitarist Doyle Wolfgang von Frankenstein admitted a reunion with Danzig was set in motion years earlier, but blamed his sibling for wrecking the plans. He told the outlet, "But Jerry put a f***ing monkey wrench in it. In 2002, we had meetings, and Jerry kind of f***ed it up, him and his manager. We were going to do a record, do a tour, and everything." In April 2014, the Misfits saga took another turn for the worse as Glenn Danzig sued Jerry Only over merchandising rights. Danzig claimed Only deliberately excluded him from a major merchandising deal with retailers such as Hot Topic and presented himself as the exclusive holder of Misfits trademarks, such as the infamous skull logo. As such, Only had supposedly gone back on a previous agreement where they would have shared ownership of the band's trademarks for merchandising. In addition, Danzig alleged Only threatened retailers that he would withhold the rights if they involved Danzig. Through a representative, Only issued a statement and disputed Danzig's version of events, arguing Danzig had no claims to merchandise as per their 1995 agreement. Furthermore, through Cyclopean Music's licensing program, he had used Misfits logos for numerous years, and Danzig was well aware of it, never raising the issue beforehand. He suggested that Danzig's own band's merch didn't sell as well as the Misfits did, and this was his way of trying to get a piece of the action. Fortunately, the merchandising lawsuit didn't drag on for too long or become too convoluted. In August 2014, a U.S. judge dismissed Glenn Danzig's claims of a breach of contract. The judge also dismissed a litany of Danzig's other complaints, such as Only's alleged threats of withholding rights from retailers that involved Danzig. While Danzig may have lost the lawsuit and a slice of the juicy Hot Topic pie, it did open the door for further discussions regarding the future of the Misfits. It was something that changed the trajectory of the band forever. After the 2014 lawsuit, it appeared any chances of a Misfits reunion would only happen if hell froze over, reheated itself, and went ice cold again. Yet, the unthinkable happened. Jerry Only and Glenn Danzig reunited, being the first band announced for Denver's Riot Fest in 2016. Finally, the original Misfits were getting back together after 3 decades apart.
I think this is our finest hour. I think we'll be here when the smoke clears.
Speaking to the New York Times, Danzig said the reunion happened because he and Only straightened out their issues once and for all. However, he explained there was something else weighing on his mind that made him consider the possibility. Danzig told the newspaper, "I've seen a lot of musicians dying too young recently, like Bowie and Prince. That just got in my head. People have been trying to get us to reunite for a long time anyway. I said that if we're going to do it, we might as well do it now while we're all in really good shape." After all the legal issues and bickering about the Misfits over the decades, one might believe there was bad blood and serious animosity between Glenn Danzig and Jerry Only. However, the latter disagreed with that sentiment. When discussing the reunion with Rolling Stone, Only explained that it shouldn't have been too shocking to believe they could get back on stage together. He told the outlet, "We were never not friends. We were just adversaries. Larry Bird might not have liked Michael Jordan on the court, but when they go out to a bar, they're cool." Only added that a meeting held between himself, Danzig, and Misfits management proved to be the catalyst for their reunion. He admitted there was a desire to cut each other's throats when they first met to discuss their legal issues, but they managed to turn it around and decided to get back together as the original Misfits. According to a Metal Sucks report that disclosed the legalities of the reunion agreement, this was the way in which Only and Danzig managed to settle their previous dispute over the band's merchandise rights. There have been different iterations of Misfits over the years, apart from the version that featured Glenn Danzig as the lead vocalist. Another notable era was when Michael Graves fronted the band beginning in 1995. The Misfits released 2 albums with Graves as the voice of the Halloween Party, 1997's American Psycho and 1999's Famous Monsters. Even though Danzig had agreed to allow Jerry Only to continue the band, he wasn't a fan of what the Misfits was doing without him. In 2001's American Hardcore, A Tribal History by Stephen Blush, Danzig is quoted as saying, the band you see now as the Misfits is not the Misfits. It's Jerry Only trying to relive something and make some money because punk is fashionable again. Even after Danzig and Only had put aside their differences to perform as the original Misfits, the singer remained steadfast, perhaps even more brutal, in his assessment of Only's version of the Misfits. He told Revolver in 2018, "So there was no Misfits until 95 or 96. Then they came back with that abomination, whatever it was, and it was really sad." Glenn Danzig is renowned for not sugarcoating his true feelings about any number of topics, and that hasn't changed over the years.
I believe in myself.
After his reunion with Jerry Only and the reformation of the original Misfits in 2016, he didn't shy away from addressing their previous challenges in interviews. Most musicians might have brushed it off as incidents of the past, choosing to only focus on the future, but not Danzig. When asked by Kerrang if he regretted the years of lawsuits where he and Only battled all things related to the Misfits, Danzig said, "Things have to be worked out, and if someone is being difficult, you have to do what you have to do." In typical Danzig style, he told the interviewer that he found the question to be, quote, "weird."